To an American, land is never just dirt. It is the sweat of our grandfathers, the soil that raised us, and the very ground where the American dream takes root. Look at old Hank out there on his Texas ranch, walking hand in hand with his grandson as the morning sun paints the pastures in pure gold. It looks like paradise, a heritage passed down through generations. But don't let the quiet sunrise fool you, because when the sun goes down, this piece is being ripped apart by a ruthless enemy. Suddenly, that beautiful pasture is turned into a war zone. Deep, ugly trenches gouged into the earth, streams choked with thick mud, and right there, the lifeless body of a native white-tailed fawn, left in a fouled puddle. This is not just wildlife being wild. This is a multi-million-dollar ecological train wreck driven by an army of biological bulldozers. Wild hogs. They are staging a silent invasion, and if we do not act now, our children will have nothing left to inherit. Hit that subscribe button right now, because we are breaking down the biggest threat to our American heritage and how we can take our land back. We are not just dealing with a few stray animals wandering onto our property. This is a highly organized biological occupation that is costing American taxpayers and farmers a staggering $1.5 billion every single year. Let that number sink in for a moment. This is a massive financial drain hitting our rural communities right where it hurts. Ask any rancher from Texas to Georgia, and they will tell you the same horror story. You wake up, step onto your porch, and look out at a field that took you months of hard labor and thousands of dollars to plant, only to find it completely ruined. These beasts don't just graze, they destroy. They use their rock-hard snouts like iron shovels, digging deep into the earth to rip up expensive underground irrigation lines, leaving fields flooded and water systems wrecked. They tear through the roots of ancient oak trees that have stood for centuries, killing them from the inside out. And if you are running a modern farm, their path of destruction gets even worse. The massive, deep craters they leave behind are hidden hazards. A farmer drives his combines or tractors over what looks like flat grass, only to hit one of these trenches, shattering expensive blades and breaking axles, putting operations to a grinding halt during the most critical harvest days. Worst of all, they are predators. When food gets scarce, wild hogs target the most vulnerable part of a rancher's livelihood. They hunt down newborn livestock, killing defenseless lambs and baby calves straight out of the pasture. It is a brutal, heartbreaking reality that our farmers have to face completely alone. By the way, before we dive into how these creatures became so unstoppable, where are you watching this video from? Please tell us your country or city in the comments, and let's explore together. Now, how did we get here? How did an invasive species manage to completely outsmart and outmaneuver us across the continent? The answer lies in their terrifying biological design. They are, without a doubt, the ultimate survival monsters. First, look at their reproductive rate, which defies everything we know about large mammals. A young female, wild hog, or a sow can reach breeding age at just 6 months old. Think about that. Before they are even fully grown, they are already bringing new litters into the world. Their gestation period is a clockwork nightmare of 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. They can easily produce 2 litters every single year, with each litter averaging anywhere from 6 to 12 piglets. This means a single breeding pair can spark an exponential population explosion, turning into hundreds of descendants in just a few short years. On top of that, they are master adapters. They don't care about our borders, our climates, or our weather patterns. Down south in the scorching heat of the Texas brush country, they can survive for days with barely any water. Up north, where the winter winds howl and the snow piles feet deep, they simply grow a thick layer of fat and dense hair, building insulated snow caves to shield their young. They have conquered the wetlands, the forests, and the mountains. And lately, they are getting bolder. They are moving right into our backyards, pushing deep into the suburban neighborhoods of major cities like Houston and Atlanta, tipping over trash cans, destroying manicured golf courses, and wandering across busy highways. But as bad as the physical and financial damage is, there is an even darker, invisible threat lurking inside this invasion. These animals are walking biohazards, carrying over 30 different types of viral and bacterial diseases, along with dozens of parasites. They constantly contaminate local water sources where our beef cattle drink, spreading dangerous bacteria like brucellosis. This disease causes severe, contagious abortions in cattle herds, wiping out entire generations of livestock and threatening the safety of our food supply. Even worse, brucellosis can jump directly to humans, causing chronic, debilitating waves of fever that can last for years. And then there is the ultimate doomsday scenario that keeps every agricultural official in Washington awake at night: African swine fever. While this devastating virus has not fully taken root here yet, wild hogs are the perfect vectors to spread it like wildfire. If African swine fever hits our domestic pig farms through these wild populations, it will instantly shut down the entire multi-billion-dollar American pork export industry. Our trade partners will close their borders to us overnight, farms will go bankrupt, and our grocery stores will see unprecedented supply shocks. This is no longer just a minor nuisance for a few isolated landowners. This is a full-blown national security crisis threatening our economy, our health, and the very future of our American food independence. To truly understand what we are up against, we have to stop thinking of these animals as dumb farm pigs. If you underestimate them, you have already lost the war. What we are actually dealing with is a highly intelligent, fiercely adaptable adversary that is outsmarting us at almost every turn. Wildlife biologists will tell you that a wild hog possesses the cognitive capability of a 3-year-old human child, easily matching or even exceeding the problem-solving intelligence of a top-tier border collie. They are not just running on pure instinct. They observe, they analyze, and they learn from our mistakes. If you set a traditional box trap and manage to capture a few piglets while the older sow watches from the brush, you have just educated the entire sounder. That mature female will memorize the shape, the scent, and the sound of that trap. She will teach her remaining young to avoid it at all costs, and they will never step foot inside a similar structure for the rest of their lives. Landowners have shared unbelievable stories of wild hogs working together to beat human engineering. They will use their massive, powerful snouts to carefully lift wooden release levers, wedging branches or rocks under the heavy gates to completely deactivate basic trigger mechanisms. They know exactly how to eat the bait right up to the tripwire line, grabbing the food and backing out safely without ever setting off the trap. It is a psychological chess match happening right in our timberlands and pastures, and right now, the hogs are playing a few moves ahead of us. Have you ever witnessed this kind of shocking animal intelligence on your own land? Or maybe dealt with a pest that seemed to outsmart every trap you set? Let me know your stories in the comments below, because what these hogs are doing next is even more mind-blowing. As if their raw intelligence were not enough, humans have inadvertently forced these creatures to unlock a whole new survival mechanism. Historically, wild hogs were diurnal creatures, meaning they naturally moved around, socialized, and foraged during the bright daylight hours. But decades of intense recreational hunting, chasing them with hounds, and targeting them from trucks have triggered a massive behavioral evolution. To survive our pressure, they have completely rewritten their biological clocks and turned into strictly nocturnal ghosts. They now spend the daylight hours deeply entrenched in the thickest, most impenetrable cedar breaks and swamps where no human or dog can easily reach them. The moment darkness swallows the landscape, they come alive. They do not need flashlights or night vision goggles like we do. A wild hog can navigate through pitch-black forests with absolute precision, relying on a sense of smell that is roughly 10 times more powerful than a domestic dog. They can detect the scent of buried acorns or underground tubers through feet of dense soil from a quarter-mile away. By turning into creatures of the night, they have effectively neutralized our most common defense methods, turning the vast American countryside into their personal nighttime buffet while we are fast asleep in our beds. To understand the real human cost of this nightly warfare, you only need to speak with the folks who live on the front lines. Consider the heartbreaking reality faced by a third-generation farmer named Miller, a 70-year-old man who has dedicated his entire life to tending his land in rural Texas. Not too long ago, Mr. Miller woke up at 5 in the morning, grabbed his coffee, and stepped out to check on his 40 acres of prime peanut fields. This was not just a regular crop. This specific harvest was the family financial safety net, meticulously planned and planted to pay for his oldest grandson's upcoming college tuition. But as he walked out to the field, his heart sank into his stomach. The entire 40 acres had been completely wiped off the map. In less than 8 hours, a massive sounder of over 50 hogs had swept through like an organized demolition crew. The earth was rolled over, the valuable peanut plants were shredded, and the irrigation lines were ripped to pieces. Mr. Miller said it looked exactly like a fleet of heavy bulldozers had driven back and forth across his property all night long. The entire year of hard work, the financial security for his family, and the dreams for his grandson's future were completely erased in a single night of lawless destruction. This is the devastating reality of the invasion. It is a brutal reminder that we are locked in a relentless battle of wits, with a phantom enemy that does not sleep, does not respect our property lines, and will not stop until we find a smarter way to fight back. Now, for generations, our gut reaction to any pest problem in the American countryside has been pretty straightforward. You see a predator or a destructive animal on your property, you walk out to the barn, grab your trusty rifle, and you go hunting. It is a tradition passed down from fathers to sons, and for a lot of folks watching this, especially those who grew up hunting deer or managing property, it seems like the most logical solution. You think to yourself, if there are wild hogs tearing up the back pasture, the answer is to grab some buddies, lease out the land to weekend hunters, or let the dogs loose to thin out the herd. It feels like you are taking control and doing right by the land. But this is exactly where we have to stop and look at the cold, hard science, because what worked for deer or coyotes is completely backfiring when it comes to wild hogs. The harsh reality that wildlife biologists are trying to get us to understand is something called the recreational hunting paradox. Study after study shows that traditional sports hunting only removes about 10 to 15% of a local wild hog population each year. That might sound like a decent dent, until you realize that to just keep a wild hog population flat, to stop it from growing by even a single animal, you have to eradicate at least 70 to 80% of the entire population, every single year. When you pull the trigger and drop 1 or 2 hogs out of a group, you are not solving the problem. You are actually making it worse. And it all comes down to a fascinating and terrifying biological defense mechanism inside these creatures. When humans apply hunting pressure to a sounder, it triggers a powerful reverse biological reaction. When a few members of a herd are killed, the surviving hogs instantly go into emergency survival mode. The mature sows experience a massive hormonal spike caused by the sudden stress on the group. Their bodies respond by accelerating their reproductive cycles. Sows that would normally breed later in the season begin ovulating months ahead of schedule. Even worse, their bodies adjust to maximize the survival of the species, meaning their next litters will be significantly larger, often jumping from a normal 6 piglets up to 10 or 12. The hogs are literally outbreeding our bullets. By killing just a small fraction of the herd, we are inadvertently sending a signal to the survivors to repopulate the area at an explosive, frantic pace. But the biological backlash is only half the story. The physical chaos caused by traditional hunting methods creates a massive logistical nightmare for the entire surrounding county. Imagine a group of weekend hunters driving onto a piece of land with a pack of baying hounds and high-powered rifles. They spot a sounder of 20 hogs feeding near a creek bed. The guns go off, the dogs charge, and maybe they manage to harvest 2 or 3 hogs. What happens to the other 17? They completely scatter in absolute terror. That unified, structured family group is instantly shattered. Instead of staying together where they could potentially be managed, those terrified, surviving hogs split up into broken, smaller groups and run for their lives. The deafening roar of gunshots and the scent of hunting dogs push them miles away from their original territory, driving them straight onto neighboring properties, pristine timberlands, and state parks that had never seen a wild hog before. These newly displaced, highly stressed animals carry their devastating diseases and destructive habits into completely untouched ecosystems. The lone, young females that ran for cover will quickly find a new patch of woods, breed with any roaming male, and establish brand new kingdoms of their own. Within a matter of months, a single poorly planned hunting trip can transform one concentrated pest problem into 5 separate, exploding infestations across an entire county. We have to face the music. Our old-school, rugged individualist approach to hunting is not a solution. It is a highly effective dispersal mechanism for the enemy, and it is time we trade our old habits for a much smarter, unified strategy. If we want to win this war and protect our land for the next generation, we have to stop playing checkers while these animals are playing chess. We need to put away the random weekend shootouts and adopt a high-tech, scientific strategy. Top agricultural universities like Texas A&M have thrown their full research weight behind a game-changing concept known as whole sounder removal. The core principle here is simple but absolute. You do not leave a single animal behind. Not one. If you let even one smart sow escape, she will use her trauma to educate future litters, scatter to new lands, and trigger that explosive reproductive backlash we just talked about. We are talking about an all-or-nothing tactical operation, and thanks to cutting-edge technology, we finally have the upper hand. This modern arsenal relies on a powerful trio of advanced tools that turn the tables on these nocturnal phantoms. It all starts in the night sky with high-resolution thermal drones. These advanced aircraft glide silently hundreds of feet above the tree line, completely undetected by the hogs below. Operating in pitch-black darkness, their thermal sensors scan the landscape, mapping out heat signatures with crystal clarity. On a handheld monitor, a land manager can see right through dense brush and pinpoint an entire sounder, counting exactly how many adult sows, boars, and piglets are moving across the property. No more guessing games, and no more surprises. We now have an eye in the sky telling us exactly what we are up against. But knowing where they are is only half the battle. The real magic happens on the ground with a new generation of smart corral traps, like the revolutionary pig brig system. Forget those old-school heavy steel box traps that slam shut with a deafening clang, scaring half the herd away. These modern traps use a massive, heavy-duty nylon netting suspended in a wide circle. The hogs walk right underneath it to eat the bait, completely unbothered. Live streaming cameras equipped with artificial intelligence watch the trap 24/7, sending a crisp video feed straight to a landowner's smartphone. The farmer can sit in his living room, miles away, watching the hogs filter into the circle. He waits patiently until the AI camera confirms that 100% of the sounder is inside the perimeter. With a single tap on a smartphone screen, the electronic drop mechanism triggers, and the heavy netting collapses instantly. Because it is a soft, flexible net rather than rigid iron bars, the captured hogs do not panic and injure themselves trying to bust through. They remain relatively calm and contained, ensuring the entire family group is trapped together without a single runner escaping to warn the others. Now, I want to pause for a second and ask you a quick question. With all this wild technology entering the agricultural world, from automated tractors to AI cameras, how do you feel about using high-tech gear on traditional American farmland? Do you think tech is the ultimate savior for our rural communities, or do you prefer the old-school ways? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this next method sounds straight out of a spy movie. When a sounder manages to retreat deep into the most impenetrable swamps or dense public forests where even drones cannot easily map them, biologists deploy their ultimate secret weapon, a technique known as the Judas Pig. Experts will capture a single, live, wild hog from an area and safely fit it with a lightweight, high-tech GPS tracking collar. Now, because hogs are profoundly social animals that absolutely despise being alone, they have a deep-rooted psychological drive to seek out a herd. Once the biologists release this collared hog back into the wild, it does not run away, it immediately goes looking for company. It treks deep into the wilderness, sniffing out hidden trails, and eventually joins up with a brand new, undocumented sounder hiding in the deepest shadows. Unknowingly, this Judas Pig broadcasts its exact coordinates straight to satellite networks. Biologists and land managers can track the signal on their computers, walking right up to the secret fortress of the enemy. By using the hog's own social instincts against it, we can systematically eliminate hidden populations that would otherwise remain completely invisible. This is the new frontier of land management. It is smart, it is relentless, and it gives our farmers the peace of mind they haven't felt in decades. At the end of the day, this fight teaches us a powerful life lesson. Some burdens are just too heavy to carry alone. We cannot win this as lone wolves anymore. It takes a community. We need our local governments providing the tech, scientists guiding the strategy, and neighbors joining hands to create an unbreakable safety zone across our county lines. This beautiful American land has sustained us for generations, and now it is our turn to protect it. Let us stop the random hunting that scatters the enemy and start working together. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button and help us preserve our heritage. See you all in the next video.